Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the PDC Racing League. And it's another one of our special friends and relatives races. These are always an awful lot of fun. We've had about 3 or 4 of these nights now over the last few months. It's an opportunity for us to enjoy some more great racing, courtesy of the PDC Racing League, but with some slightly different names than the ones that we're used to seeing. Essentially, it is open to friends and relatives of PDC Racing League regulars. So we've got fathers, we've got sons, we've got different people who are in one way or another connected to those who race on a regular basis in the PDC Racing League. And we're very much looking forward to a pair of 15-minute races tonight, both of which will take place around the Oulton Park circuit based in Cheshire. And of course, we are using the iRacing platform as always. Well, my name is Andy McEwen here in the commentary booth, ready to talk you through all of the action. And I'm sure, are going to see a pair of really exciting races we normally do with these Skip Barber Formula 2000 cars. It's a circuit that we've raced at before as well. So I'm sure that the drivers, although they're relatively inexperienced, will have a fair bit of advice being given to them by those friends and family members that have referred them to this series. And some very interesting names on the entry list indeed. So, as you can see, we've got the qualifying session underway here. The format for tonight, then, as I said, 2 races, but this qualifying session only matters towards the first of those 2 races. The second race is a random grid, so the lap times from this qualifying session will set the grid for the first race, but not the second one. The second one, they could be starting well, quite frankly, anywhere, front, back, or anywhere in between. But qualifying, a very different skill to racing, and that can most definitely throw a challenge the way of the drivers. Some drivers better at racing than qualifying, of course, and for these drivers, all of whom are pretty inexperienced at this whole iRacing business, the qualifying session, only a short one too, is a real challenge. Just 10 minutes to get a lap time on the board. And in that time, you've got to try and get your tyres up to temperature, get a bit of clear air, get yourself into the rhythm, and ultimately set a lap time that is going to be good enough for you to, you would hope, sit at the front of the grid. So the Oulton Park Foster's circuit is the one which is in use here this evening. That's the shortest of the 3 layouts at Oulton Park. Therefore, the lap times are pretty tight, as you'd expect for such a short circuit. At the moment, it's Martina Ward who is provisionally on the pole position. And Martina with a lap time of 1 minute 10.08, a tenth and a half, sorry, a little bit quicker actually, 1.1 seconds quicker than Arwen Graham, who is second. Alex Knox is third, Steele Reagan is fourth, and Josh Carr rounding out the top 5 for the time being. And those 5 are covered by, well, 3.3 seconds, except there's just been a change because Josh Carr has managed to get himself up into 4th position. So the qualifying session then continuing to tick over, and as the time continues to tick down, we are preparing that, I believe, for our first race of the night. I believe we've got a few technical issues there with Andy McEwen, so
can come in and fill while Andy is getting himself back up and running. So you got Martina Ward, who has taken the lead. Good start by her. And there's a few big incident behind. Is that Will Conway? I believe so. Little incident there with Nick Phelps. A few little gremlins for Andy McEwen. Wonder if he's forgot to plug his laptop in again. Tends to have a few problems with that, but we're trying to get Andy McEwen back here, so I apologise about the commentary. It's not my forte. I'll stick to the cameras, but I'll try and talk you through what we got on show here today. So Martina Ward has pulled away out the front here. She's got a 1.6 second gap to Arwen Graham in second place. Oh, bit of a spin there for Arwen. Let's have a look at Kirsty Shepherd out on track. Doing a good job. Let's jump on board. So Andy is loading himself back into this session. I think he's had a bit of a technical issue, so he shouldn't be too long. So this is riding on board with Martina Ward, who is now got a 7-second gap to Nick Phelps behind. She's currently punching in laps 2-3 seconds a lap quicker than the rest of the field. Any battles out on track? Let's have a look at Josh Carr in that familiar car. And Freddie Hewitt, number 17. Once again, apologies about the technical issues with our commentator. So here's Karen Blake, Dan Blake's mum. Oh, she's nearly stopped going around that corner. Let's jump on board with her. She's learning a little bit off Dan here, and if I'm honest, Dan could learn a fair bit off his mum. That's the usual Dan Blake racing behind that one. Oh, that's definitely Dan's definitely been teaching her about how to drive it. There's a interesting little moment there. Little collision there with Naomi Best. And off they go. So there's Martina Ward, who is now lapping Karen Blake. She's currently got an 11-second gap to second place, which is Will Conway. Here he comes. Interesting manoeuvre there. You back, Andy?
Graham, yes, can you hear me?
Oh, finally.
I'm back. Apologies, everyone.
I'm switching
I asked
myself
my
off.
laptop to do two things at once, which clearly was totally unreasonable of me, and it decided to crash. So apologies. I'm back in now. I'm watching the race, and it sounds like I've missed a fair deal. The start of these races does tend to be pretty chaotic, but Martina Ward has come through it all to lead the way. She's got a 13-second cushion at the moment over Will Conway in second place, and we're watching her now, and I'm delighted to say that I can see Martina as well on the track. So this is already an improvement on how the last 5 minutes or so of this race has gone. Out of Knickerbrook over Clay Hill. We've seen Martina Ward race in these friends and relatives races a few times in the past, always fairly quick. She is the wife of David Ward, who has been a front runner in previous PDC Racing League events, and so perhaps not that surprising that he's been able to pass on some of his knowledge to Martina, and she's putting it to good use here, looking already like a fairly dominant winner here as she comes through onto the 6th lap of this 15-minute race. We're about halfway through it now. Will Conway in second place is the man probably with his hands the most full, because he's only got about a second in hand over Nick Phelps in 3rd position at the moment. That's really the battle that's going on. Josh Carr is 4th. Ollie Croxton is in 5th position. Ollie, just 12 years of age, I'm fairly sure is the youngest driver in the field tonight. And Ollie is, I believe, Gavin Johnson's son, and will be hoping to improve even upon the 4th place that he finds himself in. I think he might be able to, because he's putting in some ever-improving lap times. Martina Ward here coming up against some back markers in the next few moments as she crests the hill over Clay Hill towards Druids Corner and heads through towards the end of another lap. We're right on board with Martina Ward, then back markers in front, skating around all over the place, which is just what you want to see as the race leader when you're enjoying a pretty healthy lead. But that healthy lead does mean that Martina doesn't really need to take too many risks here. Up to overtake the first back mark. Now, which way is it going to go? We are going to go to the right. It goes to the left, and thankfully Martina Ward is able to put another lap there on. I think that was Naomi Best, wasn't it? Who has just gone 2nd lap down in this race, which means that it's Steele Reagan, perhaps, who is... No, I think it's Kirsty Shepherd, actually, the next driver set to be lapped, and this will be the first time that Kirsty has been lapped. 2nd time for Naomi. And indeed it is Kirsty Shepherd just in front in the treble 1 car. And Kirsty is a lady of many talents. She is the Attitude Esports account manager, but also an IT engineer, and plays 8-ball pool for the Worcestershire ladies team, and apparently had trials for the England ladies pool squad as well. So Kirsty Shepherd, a very, very talented sports person, and now trying to our hand to sim racing, and although the pace certainly is not electric from her at the moment, she is staying out of trouble. No damage to that car, and no major incidents that she appears to have had so far. Car closing in behind is Naomi Best, who also is getting quicker as the race goes on, despite being a couple of laps down now. 2nd place here, Will Conway in the number 21 car. Will Conway running on Jake Conway's account here tonight, and the Lucky Strike, former BAR Honda Formula 1 livery that is adorning his car, is running strongly, in fact very strongly. The fastest lap of the race has just been set by Will Conway, and that previous lap there that he just completed was nearly 2 seconds quicker than Martina Ward. This is again a feature of these friends and relatives races. It sometimes takes these drivers maybe the first half of the race just to get into the swing of things, and then their pace dramatically increases as they go through the rest of the race. We're on board with Will Conway now. You can see he's pushing on, just ran a little bit wide there through the right-hander at Foster's, flat out through Knickerbrook, and then heads off up the hill. It is worth reminding you that Martina Ward was in traffic on the previous lap, but even so, Will Conway, fastest lap of the race, must be doing something right. Remember, a lap or so ago, I said that he was about a second ahead of Nick Phelps. Well, that gap is up to nearly 3 seconds now, as there's a car sliding around in front. I think that was Naomi Best, wasn't it, who is about to go another lap down to the 2nd place driver. This lap, though, it looks as though Will is going faster than Martina Ward again. The gap is coming down towards 8 seconds now. Don't know if he's going to have time to really catch Martina here, but there is another race coming later on, remember, which will have a full reversed grid. And in that one, maybe he will have a shot at taking the victory. Although, having said that, it's no longer Will Conway with the fastest lap. It's now Nick Phelps in third position. So ignore what I just said about Will Conway pulling away from Nick Phelps, or Isaac Phelps, we believe it is, sorry, who's using Nick's account. So Isaac Phelps in third position, fastest lap of the race. He's actually closing on Will Conway. There you can see Isaac as the number 2 car in position number 3 sets off after the second place car, which is about to encounter some more traffic. That's the one of the year 1 livery cars, I think, ahead potentially, which is about to go a lap down. Now, Isaac Phelps will try to use this to his advantage now to maybe move up another place. I also said earlier on that Ollie Croxton was the youngest driver in the field. I'm actually wrong. Isaac Phelps is 11 years of age. I don't know if I had my first games console at the age of 11. If I did, I certainly wasn't this good on it. The old PlayStation 1 as it would have been back then. These days, of course, the youngsters have far more sophisticated games that they can use to learn their craft, and that's, I think, a big part actually of why racing drivers are getting younger and younger, because as sims such as iRacing get better and better, they become a much better learning tool for drivers young and old, in fairness, but certainly youngsters way before they can get out there in a real car are able to buckle into the virtual race car and learn how it all works. And I'll tell you what, I'm very impressed with Isaac here as he chases after Conway in front. He is now less than a second behind the second place driver. This is by far the best battle in the race, although I must mention that Arwen Graham and Ollie Croxton are doing battle for fourth as well. Croxton having recently lost that fourth position to Arwen Graham. Arwen, who is a 14-year-old aspiring racing driver. There they are. Look, coming out of Knickerbrook Corner. So Arwen, the number 22 car, has just taken fourth place a lap or so ago, at least from Ollie Croxton. Also 12 years of age. So, who's the oldest driver in the race? I suppose that's the question. Anyone over the age of 17 has got a good shout at being the oldest driver in the race. I think maybe, whisper it, Karen Blake is probably the driver with the most years behind her in this race. And Karen, as I speak about her, I was about to say, as I say nice things about her, that's possibly not quite true, but she did just gain a place ahead of Alex Knox, who I think has just had a spin coming through Cascades. There is Karen Blake, who takes a very adventurous line over Clay Hill and crashes into the barriers. Well, that was maybe not the ideal time to cut to her, but having seen the accident once, we're now going to embarrass her even further by showing it in replay. I'm not entirely sure how that happened. She just seemed to get a bit sort of behind in her steering almost coming out of Knickerbrook, and I can't even really call it a tank slapper, but it was definitely a big moment. She hit the wall and has thankfully been able to carry on. As she was having that accident, the second place battle was coming through, so you can see here Will Conway and Isaac Phelps, are now ahead of Karen Blake. They've got more traffic up the road, and Isaac Phelps just set another new fastest lap, 1 minute 8.09. So Isaac Phelps now only 6 tenths behind as we head into the final stages of this race, though. Is he going to have time to find a way through into second place? Certainly, if there's a chance, you would imagine that the 11-year-old is not going to back out of an opportunity to take second position. And I'm sure Nick is watching on beside him, cheering him on and maybe coaching him on how to deal with this. Look at what's going on here. He's got the second place car right in front of him and 3 back markers ahead. And up the inside he goes as one car spins in front. There's another car going slowly. And somehow Will Conway hangs on, but he's on the wrong side of the road now going into Knickerbrook Corner. Slower car in front, which I think is Karen Blake. Yes, it is. Oh, and there's contact with Karen. Karen's up in the air and through will go Isaac Phelps. Karen Blake, for the second lap in a row, makes friends with the Armco barrier over Clay Hill. And that was very unfortunate for Will Conway, who has survived and could still fight back into that second place before the end. I think, though, we're about to see the checkered flag for Martina Ward, who has avoided all of the drama. And Martina comes out of Lodge Corner then with nearly a 10-second cushion once again over the second place battle. Martina Ward is a winner in the PDC Racing League Friends and Relatives race, the first race of the night here from Oulton Park. What's going on for second place? There's another back marker in the mix, but it is going to be Isaac Phelps then, the 11-year-old. Yes, that's 11-year-old, takes second position at the flag. with Will Conway in third position. And now you've got a feel for Will because, okay, Isaac was quicker than him and was definitely harrying him there at the end of the race, but had it not been for the unfortunate collision with a back marker there, Will Conway might just have held on. Owen Graham is going to hang on to fourth position, so the number 22 car will come through. The 14-year-old will finish in fourth position, with Ollie Croxton in fifth place there. He goes across the start-finish line. Ollie, who is a fan of Liverpool Football Club, apparently, despite his father being a Man United fan, so that's already one thing that Ollie's got over his father, and makes me infinitely happier to see him inside the top 5. Josh Carr will be the last of the cars to come through on the lead lap in sixth position, as here comes the Hewitt car, which is going to, that is Josh Carr, of course, in sixth position. That was suitably dramatic stuff, wasn't it? Apologies, everyone, that I missed the first part of that race, as my laptop had a bit of a meltdown, as it's prone to doing sometimes, but hopefully I'll be there for the duration of the second race, which is going to be another exciting affair. I'm sure a completely random grid for that second race, remember? And that, I'm sure, is going to throw up all manner of chaos and drama in the early stages. Steele Reagan, then one of the last cars to come through and see the checkered flag, but it was Martina Ward that took the race victory. We'll be able to show you the result of that race in a moment or two. We make a quick break to change servers for the second race. So Steele Reagan then comes through at the end. The result is in, though, and it is going to be Martina Ward that takes the race victory. Isaac Phelps with a dramatic second place there that he snatched on the final lap. Will Conway in third, Arwen Gray in fourth. Ollie Croxton was fifth ahead of Josh Carr sixth. Kirsty Shepherd was seventh. Then it was Alex Knox, Karen Blake, Steele Reagan, and Naomi Best to round out the field. There is the replay you can see on your screens of the dramatic moment between Will Conway and Karen Blake. It was Karen that came off the worst in a way with that fairly significant shunt into the barriers, but it was Will Conway who lost second position as a result of that collision. And there you can see Isaac Phelps, the youngster, able to very coolly move through and snatch that second place away. Really, really well done, that. So that is your first race then of the night complete. And we will, I believe, have a chance to chat to our race winner, Martina Ward, who I think has made her way over to have a quick little chat with us. And we'll bring her in to get her thoughts on what was, for her, a relatively uneventful first race of the night, I suppose, Martina. A lot of the work seemed to be done in the early stages there.
Yeah, absolutely. That was nice and chilled, out for a Sunday drive, no drama. So yeah, pleased that I managed to keep it clean.
It's a difficult little track, this one, isn't it? Have you had much time to practice it?
Well, I only started learning in the other day. I've put in a good few hours, but yeah, it's definitely tricky. I hadn't driven the Skippy for quite a while, so I had to get myself reacquainted with how well skittish it is. So yeah, it was a nice challenge to learn the track and get used to the car again. But yeah, the first few laps are are definitely tiptoeing around.
Well, if you were nervous in the first few laps of that race, how are you going to feel in race 2? Because it's a random grid. I know you'll be hoping that you're drawn at the front of it, but there's no guarantee, is there?
No, not at all. I'm looking forward to it. I mean, I'd like to get a little bit more into the action, see what happens, and hopefully provide some good entertainment.
Be careful what you wish for, Martina. That's all I'm going to say to you. Well done on the race win, though, and best of luck for race 2.
Thanks very much, guys.
So Martina Ward, then the first winner of the night here in the PDC Racing League Friends and Relatives race at Oulton Park. The second race is on its way to you all in a moment or two. We're going to take a very quick break so that we can change servers, and we'll be back with the second 15-minute race in just a few minutes. Welcome back, everyone, to the PDC Racing League friends and relatives evening. The second race, the final race of the night, is only a few minutes away. We're in our 5-minute free practice session just to allow everyone to get back into the next server. The first race won by Martina Ward a few minutes ago, and she won it fairly convincingly. But this time she has a random grid, not even a reversed grid, a random grid to contend with. It's going to make life all the more challenging. Andy McEwen here in the commentary box. Graham Sessford is directing the stream and standing in as commentator as when my laptop decides that it doesn't want to be a laptop anymore. But thankfully, I think we've got to the bottom of the issues. The Oulton Park Foster's Circuit is the venue then for our two races tonight, based in the beautiful town of Little Budworth in the northwest of England, only about half an hour or so away from where I live. And I'm not biased at all in saying that I think it's the greatest racetrack in the world. It's certainly a unique challenge, the mini Nordschleife, as it's referred to by many. And for professional drivers, it's a real thrill to drive this place. For these, for the most part, amateur drivers, though, it's perhaps more on the challenging side. But they have handled, actually, the challenges remarkably well. We didn't have too many incidents in that first race. Hopefully that will continue to be the case in race number 2. So the drivers, I think, are all pretty much with us. The time about to tick down to 0. There it goes. The 5 minutes are up. And now let's find out what the grid is going to be like, because this random grid process that we have, well, it can be a bit random, you'll be surprised to hear. And drivers that were quick in the previous race could end up at the back of the grid for this one. Well, let's see. Martina Ward, yes, 8th on the grid. This is the grid. It's Kirsty Shepherd on pole with Will Conway second. Karen Blake and Alex Knox on the second row of the grid ahead of Ollie Croxton and Arwen Graham. Josh Carr and Martina Ward make up the 4th row. Steele Reagan and Isaac Phelps on row 5, with Naomi Best in the 303 car at the back of the grid. So Martina Ward then coming from 8th on the grid this time, and you can see her in the background, the number 23 car, the black and purple car. The red lights are on them. We're about to go racing for another 15 minutes around the Oulton Park Foster's Circuit. Red lights on. They will go out now. We're away, and Kirsty Shepherd from pole position tries to get into Old Hall Corner first and will do so. Will Conway, though, is up the inside line and trying to take the lead away from her. Conway late on the brakes and goes through into the race lead. The man that finished 3rd position in the previous race is already into the lead this time around. Kirsty Shepherd is second. Alex Knox is third. Arwen Graham looks like he's 4th place, and a change already for second look as Knox goes through, and Arwen Graham tries to go around the outside as well, but on cold tyres, around he goes. Around goes Alex Knox right in front of everyone, and thankfully they've all missed him. There was a bit of contact between Ollie Croxton and I think Arwen Graham. Maybe there's more carnage behind. Still Reagan has gone round. So has Josh Carr, unfortunately, the black and gold car, and also there's another one. Well, there's 2 actually. Kirsty Shepherd is off, and yeah, Karen Blake too. So 3 or 4 drivers in 3 or 4 separate incidents, I think, finding trouble at Cascades. But Will Conway, through it all, has got with a race lead by 2 seconds already over Arwen Graham there in 2nd place. Battle on for 3rd between Isaac Phelps and Ollie Croxton, but Croxton just ran wide coming out of Druid's corner. As they head into Lodge then, it looks like he might lose that 4th place to Alex Knox. I suspected that the start of this race could be dramatic because of the whole random grid thing, and indeed it was. Will Conway, though, starting on the front row was an advantage. He got the lead into Old Hall Corner, and he's now trying to pull away. There is Alex Knox in 4th position. Top 3 have gone through. Conway, Graham and Phelps. Knox is 4th, Ollie Croxton is 5th, and Martina Ward up into 6th place. So only 2 places gained. I told her in a post-race 1 interview to be careful what she wished for. She wanted to be in the mix going into race 2. And, well, Ollie Croxton is in a whirl as he goes out of Old Hall Corner, hits the barriers, and unfortunately is upside down. And Ollie Croxton has to head to the pit lane to reset. So Ollie Croxton out of the race. To finish my point about Martina Ward, as she now moves into 5th position as a result of that issue for Croxton. Martina wanted to be in the thick of the action for this second race and absolutely was on that first lap. I don't think she had at any point any significant contact with anyone, but no doubt her progress was delayed as she tried to avoid having contact with people going through the first few corners. But you can see visibly here as we ride on board with her how she is reeling in Alex Knox in front. Alex Knox, who was watching on proudly, I'm sure, a few weeks ago as his father, Chris, won the Winter Series, Series 4 of the PDC Racing League. And now Alex himself running in 4th position, but for how much longer? Because Martina Ward is really racing towards him. These two, though, as you can see on the left-hand side of your screen, are 12.5 seconds off the race leaders, but Martina is the fastest car on the track. 1 minute 8.6. That was about 3.5 seconds quicker than Alex Knox on just one lap of this relatively short Oulton Park Foster circuit. Well, is though, it's very difficult to overtake around here. There are places you can do it, but it's always a bit of a leap into the unknown. Are in front there that seems to have lost some ground. Yeah, that's Arwen Graham. I think Arwen Graham's just been off, so it's now not just a 4th place battle that we're watching, but a 3rd, 4th and 5th place scrap as Graham, Knox and Ward get themselves closer together. Over Clay Hill towards Druids they go. There's no doubt that Ward is the quicker of these three. Getting past them is not going to be the work of a moment. There is Arwen Graham, the Scottish driver, number 22. And Arwen, new to sim racing, looking to enter the 2021 Junior Saloon Car Championship season, though. 14 years of age is Arwen, so he's getting to that age now where, remarkably, they can get themselves into a real-world racing car and compete in one of the number of junior racing series that seem to have cropped up recently in the UK. And this is a really good way of practicing, and he's got some defensive practice to do now because he's got 2 cars right behind him. Well, he did. He's now got 1, really, because Alex Knox has made a bit of a mess of Old Hall Corner under severe pressure from Martina Ward, who streaks through into that 4th place and sets off after Arwen Graham in front. Down through Cascades they go, plunging through the apex onto the brakes then, and Martina Ward already out the other side of Foster's. He's now knocking on the door of a top 3. At the head of the field, Will Conway, as you can see, is 5 seconds clear of Isaac Phelps, even in 2nd place. There is Will Conway, the race leader. 3rd place in the previous race. It could have and arguably should have been 2nd place. Certainly he will tell you it should have been 2nd place had it not been for that contact right at the end. And of course, it was Isaac Phelps that came through to take a very grateful, albeit slightly fortunate, 2nd place finish in the end. Well, this time around, I don't think Isaac quite has the pace to go after Will Conway, although we said that in race 1, and then they have ended up coming back together again towards the end of it. Conway then, in the number 21 car, streaks down through Cascade. You can see both Conway and Phelps and Graham, in fact, all setting personal best lap times last time around. Martina Ward no longer able to go as quickly as she had been because she's stuck behind Arwen Graham. If she could clear Arwen, she could probably go quite a bit quicker even than the race leaders, but there you can see she's still stuck. We're right on board now with the number 23 car. Martina Ward in her wish here. She's definitely got some battling to be done in this 2nd race. Can she make it a double podium for the night? Well, I reckon she's got the pace to do so, and she still has nearly 10 minutes of this race to go, so she's got time to get into 3rd, and if she could do that, she could even catch Isaac Phelps in 2nd, but she needs to do this quickly if that is to be the case. Through Druids they go. Sliding wide is Arwen in front, and that will be exactly what Martina Ward wants to see, but as you can see here, she just can't quite get close enough. She's about 3/10 back, closes right in under braking, but she was just a car length or so too far back to really think about throwing it up the inside there. Across the line they will go then. This is the 6th lap of the race being started for these two. The race leaders have already gone through onto the 6th lap, and Will Conway has set the new fastest lap of the race, a 1 minute 8.64, which is right on the pace that the fastest lap was in the previous race. I think we did get a 1 minute 7 by the end, though, so there is potentially a bit more pace to be had. Martina then drops down through Cascades. Still cannot get past Arwen Graham, who hits the curb and almost gets it wrong. That was very, very close. Going out of Foster's corner. Ooh, so easy to lose control there. That curb is absolutely vicious, but it's let Martina get quite a bit closer now into Druid's corner. Oh, but then a bit too close look, and she just overcooks it on the way in. It's in that dirty air and loses front downforce, understeers wide. Arwen Graham is able to get back away again. So Arwen Graham then in 3rd position. This all female battle for 3rd place. And Martina Ward trying to find a way back onto that podium. They're really losing time now to the top 2 because the gap is up to, well, 15 seconds now between 1st and 4th. Will Conway in the lead, Isaac Phelps 2nd, Arwen Graham 3rd, Martina Ward 4th, Alex Knox 5th, and then here, Steele Reagan in 6th position, son of Phil Reagan, who is another regular in the PDC Racing League and other competitions on iRacing as well. Steele having a very lonely race here, 36 seconds off the lead, about 10 seconds ahead of Josh Carr in 7th position. Good looking car that though. I have to say I'm a fan of that Steele Reagan number 60 car. Josh Carr here in the number 17 car, which is the black and gold liveried machine. And Josh Carr is, again, fairly lonely in this race, but he's closing on Steele Reagan, actually. You can see on the left-hand side of your screen, the gap's down to 9 seconds now, whereas it was 10. So we may still have a fight for 6th place develop before the end of the race. Josh is quite comfortably ahead of Kirsty Shepherd, who is the next car to come through, but Kirsty was one of those that had dramas down at this part of the circuit on the opening lap of the race. I think she avoided the first bit of drama, didn't she? She was trying to stay out of everyone's way, but then as she was coming down through Cascades, the car in front spun and she hit the brakes to avoid it. I think she was collected by someone behind, didn't quite catch what happened to Kirsty at the start of the race, but you're pushing on now. Look over the top of Clay Hill, past the old water tower, or where the water tower was anyway, and into Druids Corner. Kirsty Shepherd is really in a world of her own now. She is having a Thursday night drive around Oulton Park all to herself. There is Karen Blake. Oh, having another moment! Oh, dear. And that was that Arwen Graham? Yeah, it was, wasn't it? That was Arwen Graham and Martina Ward, who somehow have come out of that in exactly the same position as they were. But Karen Blake making friends out there tonight is Karen. Now, this was a little bit earlier in the lap. She came down through Cascades and in front of her. Oh, that was the leader, was it? No, the leader I think was just in front of her. She's already had a moment. Pounces over the grass, slides back on the road. Now, you can see in the background, we've got Isaac Phelps coming through in 2nd, and then it was Arwen Graham and Martina Ward who arrived on the scene and sadly had nowhere to go. Well, Karen Blake, despite that latest misdemeanor, has not been overtaken by Naomi Best, possibly because Naomi Best has just had another spin going through Lodge Corner and will rejoin, but I think is about to lose another place potentially. Back with Karen Blake as she comes through Cascades, this time with no one around her to distract her. That's quite distracting though. That's the 2nd time that Ollie Croxton's been upside down in this race. I'm not entirely sure how he got there. And we're about to find out. Oh, no, it's not Isaac Phelps, is it, that he's tangled with? Oh, well, yes. Oh, my word. That was a very sizable shunt for Ollie Croxton. I'm still not quite sure how he ended up where he did. That looked like it was Naomi Best having a spin, and I think it was Isaac Phelps who was trying to avoid her whilst also trying to put a lap on Ollie Croxton, and Croxton was the one that very much came off the worst from that. Will Conway is being caught. Despite all that, he's being caught by Isaac Phelps. Isaac was a second slower than him on the previous lap, but that's because of the incident that we just saw. But until then, Isaac was reeling him in. Is it too little too late, though? 4 minutes left on the clock. There's more traffic, though, potentially up the road, so this ain't over yet. And look at the way the gap's coming down. Under 4 seconds now. Almost half a second there that he took out of the leader in just one corner. So Isaac Phelps suddenly has woken up to the possibility here of 2nd place. In the previous race, remember, it was exactly the opposite of this. Isaac Phelps was in 2nd place, but Will Conway was catching him. In the second half of the race, Will was really able to reel him in, got to him on the final lap, and then they had that little tangle in the back markers. Well, now Isaac is trying to do one over on, or get one over, I should say, on Will Conway, who is now only 3.5 seconds ahead of him. Behind them, Arwen Graham is still 3rd, but only a quarter of a second ahead of Martina Ward. But that's kind of way that it's been stuck for a while, although Martina has now seen a gap on the inside. There's a bit of banging of wheels, but she does go through. Very grateful, I think, for the fact that the damage model is turned off in this particular race. Otherwise, those two would have most definitely been limping back to the pit lane with suspension damage. But it is Martina Ward then that gets herself into 3rd position. It's a bit too late for her to think about chasing down the top 2, which is a shame because had she been able to do that 10 minutes ago, probably would have been a contender for the race win by this point. So a double podium, would be a very, very nice way for her to round out the evening. What can Will Conway do? Can he retaliate now to the pace being shown by Isaac Phelps? Well, And this lap, Phelps is quicker, but not as much quicker as he was previously. So I wonder whether Conway had a moment on the previous lap going through sort of Foster's and Knickerbrook. Yeah, definitely lost. That's where he lost all of his time, wasn't he? In the second sector, which would be through Foster's and Knickerbrook. So that maybe was just a moment that he had. I don't think it was in traffic, but just fell off the road, perhaps lost his momentum. There is traffic ahead, though, and the gap is down to 3 seconds. New fastest lap by Will Conway, which is immediately bettered by Isaac Phelps, a 1 minute 7.92. So that's about 3/10 quicker than Will Conway is going. And there is traffic coming into play. We've got probably 2 more laps left of this race. Still not sure which way it's going to go. Now, that's Karen Best, who's doing her best to stay out of the way, but actually just ends up providing a bit of a smokescreen for the race leader, who has to go on the grass to avoid her. But that was quite nicely done, actually. And Isaac Phelps has lost more time. Phelps, I think, has really been tangled up with Karen Blake there, because Isaac Phelps... No, he's not caught Karen, actually, has he? Oh, he did it all on his own. I take that back, Karen. I do apologise. Isaac Phelps, I think he saw what was going on up the road. He saw that Will Conway was in traffic, and he knew that was his time to strike, and he just got a wheel on the grass turning into Foster's, lost the rear of the car, and unfortunately that's probably put paid to any chance he had of taking the race victory, as we are about to go on to the final lap of the race now. Look, we've got just over a minute left on the clock, and the fastest lap time is 1 minute 7, 1 minute 8, so they're not going to go any further than one more lap around the Oulton Park Foster's circuit. Will Conway then turns into Old Hall Corner. Don't think there's much that Isaac Phelps can do about this, but there is still traffic, and where there's traffic, there's hope for Isaac Phelps, because we've seen multiple times tonight that back markers can get in the way, unintentionally of course, but they can get in the way of the faster runners. Quite sure who that is. Whoever it is on the grass and almost losing control in front of Will Conway. We think that's Alex Knox, yeah, the 7th placed car, who is on the lead lap, but about to go off the lead lap, of course, as race leader Will Conway comes through. Now, Alex should be getting the blue flags, and he now look at that brilliant driving there from Alex Knox to pull over to the left-hand side of the road. Alex is a former Formula Ford racer, so someone with some real-world experience. He's done a few of these race nights as well, and showing his experience there, his relative experience at least, in heeding the blue flags and getting out of the way. And all of that means then that Will Conway is going to come home to a relatively unchallenged victory. It didn't look like he was going to have it all his own way there in the final third of the race, but it is going to be a second different winner of the night, because after Martina Ward won race 1, it is Will Conway who takes the victory in race number 2 by, in the end, about 5.6 seconds, I reckon, over Isaac Phelps, who crosses the line in second position. A hard charging second place, but in the end, second is the best that he can do. But a couple of podiums for him for the night. The same is true of Martina Ward, who, having got past Arwen Graham, didn't really get that much further ahead of her, did she? Because Arwen, there you can see, comes through in 4th place, only 8/10 behind. Then we should have Josh Carr. Here he is, Josh Carr, who heads through Druids Corner towards the end of the final lap of the race. And Josh Carr, who was a bit of a late entry to the pair of races tonight. He's racing Freddie Hewitt's car, which is why he has the Fastar livery adorning the side of the number 17 car. And Josh, if I've got this right, and I think I have, is Freddie's sister's fiance. So he is a family member, just about. And Josh Carr is in 5th position, at the end. Steele Reagan in 6th, and that, I think, changed towards the end of the race. Then Alex Knox, who was a lap down, will be classified in 7th, with Kirsty Shepherd, Karen Blake, Naomi Best and Ollie Croxton rounding out the runners. Well, an entertaining race there, as we kind of thought it might be. Will Conway is the man that manages to come home victorious at the end of the 15 minutes, and he will be very happy with that, no doubt about it. And, Will Conway, we will hopefully see back again in the future with these friends and relatives races. And of course, there's always a chance that some of these drivers, and we've seen this actually with Jake Woods moving through from the friends and relatives races to actually compete on the main stage of the PDC Racing League. And I wonder if maybe a few of these drivers will do the same thing. I would love to see how Martina Ward would get on in a grid full of PDC regulars. I'm sure that her husband David might want to use the sim for those races instead. Here are the results then. Will Conway the victor by 5.6 seconds over Isaac Phelps in second. Martina Ward was third, ahead of Arwen Graham, Josh Carr and Steele Reagan in sixth. Alex Knox was a lap down in seventh, so too was Kirsty Shepherd, eighth. Karen Blake had another entertaining race for ninth position. Naomi Best was 10th. And Ollie Croxton, who had the most dramatic race of all with at least 2 spectacular upside down moments. And actually, the fact that he ended up 4 laps down tells me maybe he had 1 or 2 others that we missed. But the PDC racing car certainly got plenty of screen time with his antics. Hopefully, he'll be able to have a slightly more competitive showing next time out. And that is the second race of the evening completed, the final race of the evening completed. We'll hopefully get some thoughts from a few of our drivers after that one. I will wait and see who turns up for the post-race interviews. That was some first corner contact that we missed, and that's Martina Ward. Well, being said Martina avoided drama at the start of that race, I don't think that's quite true, because that is a very spectacular barrel roll. And yeah, Martina Ward really did do well to get into third place. So she goes into Old Hall. That is Isaac Phelps on the left, and someone loses it, collects Phelps. He gets airborne, and Martina Ward does the same. And all of a sudden, she can only see sky, road, trees, sky, road, trees. Oh, and there's a tyre wall coming as well. Deary me. And this is where you're very grateful that this is just a racing sim that we're watching, because if that was the real thing, she would have a real headache after that. So that was, well, yes, that was interesting. Certainly not the way that Martina Ward wanted to start her race. And it actually makes that third place finish that she achieved all the more impressive. See on board here with Isaac Phelps. Phelps had a really good start, look. Goes up the middle, goes past the 17 car, and it's Karen Blake. And that wasn't the last time that Karen and Isaac would come together in that race either. So Karen Blake is a little bit of a moment at the start of the race. And I think we may be able to have a chat with Karen now. Karen, we've just been watching a few of your antics from that race. That was pretty eventful, wasn't it?
It was a bit, yes. I blame the coach. I didn't have a very good coach teaching me how to go round.
I couldn't agree with you more, Karen. Did he teach you that line through Knickerbrook Corner?
I think so, yes. I was just doing as I was told.
Well, I have to say, it's been great fun watching you, and you've... I know that you haven't got a huge amount of experience on the sim. I mean, with lockdown and everything that's been going on, is this something you've been maybe doing a little bit more of recently?
I've not done anything at all. I've done the 2 friends and family races, and that has been it.
Well, okay. Is it something you'd like to do more of then? Because, I mean, it is... Have you found it addictive? Because I know that when I've been on iRacing and other similar things, it's one of those, like, I want to keep doing it. I want to do more and more. I want to get better and better. Are you worried you might get the same addiction that Dan's clearly got?
I was going to say, I'm not worried, but I think Dan might be, because I've practiced for 2 hours, and in those 2 hours you kept saying to me, have you finished? So I'm not sure I'm going to get much choice in that.
He's just worried, you see. You can see your lap times coming down. He thinks you're after his drive.
Either that or we're going to have to get another rig.
Well, now there's an idea. There is an idea. Mother versus son. I think that's, I'd like to see that, Karen. Well, brilliant. Well, thank you for popping in for a chat with us, and thank you again for taking part.
No, it was great fun. I look forward to the next one. I apologise to anybody I've hit out or whatever I've done to them.
Oh, we hardly noticed any contact, Karen. I'm sure it's fine.
Thanks for talking to me anyway.
No problem, Karen.
Okay.
Give up that Dan as well. I'm sure we'll hear from him later on. Yes, excellent stuff from Karen Blake, who may not have won either of the races tonight, but certainly provided us with a lot of excitement. Well, that I think is just about it. We have had... well, hang on, we might have a second Blake interview, the Blake family taking over tonight. We've referred to Dan Blake a few times tonight, and for those of you who are not regular viewers of the PDC Racing League, first of all, you should be, because it's very exciting, but Dan was our first ever champion back in Season 1 at the start of the year, and Dan joins us now. How worried are you that your mother might be after your drive in the near future?
I think she had to get a few seconds first, but yeah, it's good to see her coming out and racing, and sort of all the other friends and relatives and that racing as well. It's a really good initiative that Gavin's got going here. I can't think of any other leagues that do it, and it is great fun. And I've been coaching Mum a little bit, and she'll get there. She's getting there slowly. Yeah, she'll get there.
Well, with a teacher like you, I'm sure she will. I know we take the mickey out of you sometimes, but that is only because we know and respect you so much. But a double champion in these things, what does it take for a complete newcomer, someone who's not only new to this car and this series, but new to sim racing as a whole? What does it take for them to jump into one of these Skip Barbers on iRacing and be good at it?
It takes a lot of practice, and I think these races are ideal for people to sort of get that first little dip in the water as such with them, really, because they are fun little cars to drive. And it's just, I think the thing Mum struggled a bit with is her braking and sort of carrying the speed through the corners and realising just how much momentum you can take in them. I think that they are quite a forgiving car, but you just got to know how to drive them correctly. And Mum put over 150 laps in testing. She's done a few hours, and yeah, I'm glad to get the rib back because I've got Daytona 24-hour this weekend.
Yes, well, absolutely. I was going to wish you good luck for that because I know that's a pretty big race on your schedule. I'm sure that you've been putting the time in on the sim recently as well. I know the last time we spoke, you were commenting about the updated sort of the iRacing update that had been done recently and how that had subtly changed the handling characteristics of a few of the cars. Are you getting your head around that now?
Yeah, the Skippy, I've done a lot of practice in the Skippy since the Winter Series, so I'm ready for next season, something that starts next week, and also it's good practice for the real season as well, because my real first race has been postponed. It's due to be at Silverstone at the end of March, I believe, but it's been pushed back to Snetterton now at the beginning of April, so it'll keep me going until I can get back out on the MX-5.
Yeah, absolutely. And Danny's absolutely right. The fifth season of the PDC Racing League is due to start next week. Do head over to their website for more information on that. They'll have, I'm sure, the full schedule up very shortly, pdcracing.com. And if you follow the links to the Racing League, you'll find all of the information. Also, of course, head over to Year One TV and they'll have info on the broadcast dates as well. Dan, we're looking forward to seeing you there. Best of luck for Daytona, and thanks for popping in for a chat.
Excellent. Thank you guys for broadcasting again. And yes, a good one. Thank you.
Awesome stuff. Right then, that I think is now all we have time for. Thank you everyone for joining us tonight. Hope you've enjoyed the racing. Apologies for the minor technical hiccup that we had at the start of the night, and hopefully a laptop upgrade in the near future for me should prevent that from being an ongoing issue. Thank you to Graham at Year One TV as ever for his wonderful work behind the scenes on the broadcast, and thanks to everyone at the PDC Racing League, Gavin and Pip, for organising everything, and they couldn't do it without the support of some of their key partners, PDC, RS Components, and the guys at SR Electrical and Pinjin as well, all of whom have been on board, I think, pretty much since the start of the PDC Racing League about a year ago. They also support Gavin in his real-world racing exploits. Do give those guys a check out. Some of them getting up to some really interesting stuff at the moment, and we thank them for their continued support. That is it then for the PDC Racing League Friends and Relatives races. We will have more PDC Racing League action in the near future with Season 5 just around the corner. We look forward to seeing you all then.